Okay, we need to start that over now. Okay.
Let's start over. Sorry, we got new people.
It's okay. It's okay. And you just need to be firm. Lexi, don't worry. I will not get mad. Just go. You go. Okay? You're the floor manager. You're in charge.
Less than a minute.
Sorry, we got new people.
It's okay. You're all learning. You're all getting this is the beginning of the semester. Good evening and welcome to Beyond the Front Page, the first of two shows today featuring not-for-profits in Cuyahoga County. This is our spring 2023 semester. This is a show that's broadcast on Verizon Fios, Spectrum, ARMA, the Auburn Regional Media Access, as well as 89.1, the college's radio station. I'm your host, Guy Cosentino. This has been a busy year for Nick's Ride, a grassroots not-for-profit that is dedicated to preventing heroin and opioid addiction and helping those who are battling addiction in general. We have Nick's Ride's executive director here with us today, Ashley Moench, as well as a peer advocate, Randy Smith, to join us to talk not only about Nick's Ride and what they do at their new facility on Chapel Street, but also to talk about two events that they have upcoming. Winterfest this weekend, believe it or not, even with the temperature is what it is right now, and a dinner they're doing through Springside Inn that's a little different than those dinners that we all have to occasionally go to. Welcome, both of you.
Thank you, guys.
I want to talk about a lot of stuff going on. You just have a new agreement with Farnham Family Services of Oswego, but let's talk about some basics. I think it's been 2 or 3 years since we've had someone from Nick's Ride here. In fact, Mary Beth Leeson, who's just here up at the college, was on here, I think, 2 years ago. For those who may not know, what is Nick's Ride?
So Nick's Ride is an effort that came together because there was a great need in the community to address the prevalence of substance use disorders. And it really kind of culminated with what was coined the opiate epidemic in, I believe it was 2013. And then the surging mental health concerns that resulted after the pandemic, which continue. Efforts were just organized so that folks had an alternative way to support individuals and families connected to individuals who are struggling with substance use disorder, find support and help navigate the systems of treatment, because they can be confusing and complex and they involve insurance companies and that sort of thing.
So for those who may not know, who was Nick?
So Nick Campanola was a local resident of Cuyahoga County, I believe Auburn School District. The organization was founded by his parents. He passed away at the age of 20 in 2015.
So he was a wrestler and he got addicted to pain pills.
Correct.
Initially,
yep.
Right? So, how long have you been with the agency? You're the new executive director. So how long have you been there?
So I've been there just over a year. But I've been aware of Nick's Ride and working closely with Nick's Ride since its inception. at another local treatment provider. I was the program director up at Grace House, and a lot of the folks that
And
come
this is
to
up near Wegmans.
Yep, on Osborne
Osborne
Street, and a lot of the folks that attend the Grace House need to do community service, and so like Nick's Ride offered an optimal place for folks to go and engage in volunteer activities and connect to the community in meaningful ways to give back.
And you've been with Nick's Ride for how long?
About 2.5 years. About that, I've been working there for almost 3 years.
And what does a peer advocate do?
Well, I think one of the most important parts of being a peer advocate is we have that shared experience. You know, like I'm in recovery, and I come through the same things that we help people navigate through the system. You know, whether it be drug court or even like people through the jail, people through the Grace House, probation, and all that. You know, we have that shared experience, and we know all of that goes into it. It can be a pretty confusing process.
And we'll talk about it a little later. But you also do boxing, MMA, or boxing?
I do it all. I call it combat recovery.
In the basement of Chapel House. So for those who may not know, you moved into Chapel House is behind Holy Family and
Chapel Street.
Chapel Street. Sorry, Chapel House. Thank you. Chapel Street is behind Holy Family. How long have you been there?
So we had a ribbon cutting in August of 21, and I believe everybody moved in there the next month in September of 21. And by the time I got there, they had kind of acclimated to the new space. So that would have been January 31st of 22.
So what's in the facility right now? Separating farm that's not there yet. What do you have in the building right now?
So the physical plant itself is 4 floors if we include the basement as the gym. The first floor is what is the peer delivery service area. So that's where we work during our business hours, which we provide a drop-in center. And primarily we're working with folks that are in some sort of mental health or substance use disorder crisis. If they are in a crisis, they're usually maintaining connection with us for ongoing and continued support as they navigate the early stages of recovery. And sometimes they stay connected for a very long time. It's really driven by, their need and their desire to maintain involved in our services. The second floor is where Farnham will be going. And then the third floor is the clubhouse space. So the former location at 12 South.
So you were next to Neil Shine's Theater before.
Yes.
And that closed. It didn't close. It moved.
When we moved, yep. So everything that what we do on the first floor and what happens in the third floor was all happening in the storefront on 12 South.
So a little bit more space now.
A lot more space.
Okay.
And it's my understanding that was a little bit of a lift when they first got there because they were so used to just like being so close to each other, But given the nature of the things people really need to process when they struggle with substance use, that confidential space is so important. So more space allowed and permitted for more confidential discussions. But the third floor is like the community area. So if folks don't have a place to go and they want to just use a computer, see what's going on. We have a TV up there, games, people can hang out. We do have some scheduled activities that go on up there and some self-help meetings, but that's where like on Wednesday night, I think is our longest standing self-help meeting. It's Heroin Anonymous. It's 7:30 every Wednesday night on the third floor.
So what are the hours through the building? It doesn't sound like you're 9 to 5 building.
So we have a key fob access, we have a great security system, and we have an external access with a trusted person that's providing the service. We're coming in and unlocking the space, and it just has fob access for an hour and a half so folks can get up there and then leave while all the floors themselves are secured.
But what are the operation hours for you?
9 to 5.
You are 9 to 5, but if somebody wants to, do you do the clubhouse other than Heroin Anonymous on Wednesday nights? Are there other outside activities outside of 9 to 5 in the building?
So we do have HEAL rents a conference room for their organization.
HEAL
and they
is, you need to tell people.
HEAL stands for Heroin Epidemic Action League. Okay. And so they have their board meetings there and they organize their efforts on the first floor. But they're there after we usually leave for their meetings, so we don't see a lot of them, but they helped organize the overdose awareness that was hosted at 13 Chapel this past August 31st.
And part of your building was part of it was most likely the earliest success story for Auburn of the Downtown Revitalization Initiative, DRI money, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So, a couple quick questions about your organization itself. You're not for profit.
Correct, we are.
You have. How are you mainly funded? Other
So
than
that's what
winter
makes us so interesting. We currently don't. Our services are free. We are working towards a business model so that eventually we can hopefully be granted with Medicaid designation, because you can bill Medicaid for peer empowerment services under CORE, which was the former HCBS services, home and community-based services. But there's a lot of red tape involved, and we've been slowly navigating all of that to see what we need to have aligned to be able to do that. But to date, so we opened in 2016, and we really are supported by a lot of foundational support. So the Emerson Foundation, the Allen Family Foundation, the French and Metcalf Foundation. We have a lot of private donors in the community.
You just
and
also
grants.
received American Rescue money from the city.
Yep.
Recently.
Yep.
How much is that?
So I believe that one was $21,000. It was to recoup lost fundraising efforts during COVID.
So
I
part of
believe.
the reason to bring Farnham, and we'll talk about that later,
Mhm.
is to help with the business model.
Correct.
Okay. So how large is your board of directors?
We have 12 active members on our board.
And can you tell us who some of them are generally known in the community?
Sure. So the Sheriff of Cuba County is our board president. Matthew Chelinek is our board vice president. Mary Beth Leeson is our board treasurer. Amanda Falsey is our secretary. We have Melanie Mahar from Auburn Large School District. We have Dr. Blowers from the college. We have Tom Henson, an insurance representative. We have Mark Pino from Auburn Fire Department. We have Rob Sweetanowski from Rich and Gardner Construction, Demetrius Murphy from Lions National Bank, Sherry Campanola, Nick Campanola's mother.
So a founder. Okay. So it's a fairly large,
Yeah, it's
diverse board.
correct.
So you have an event. I know you both have posters in front of you. It is, I did not go out in the last hour, but it felt like it was nice and warm here. So we're not thinking it's winter, but you have a winter fest. So Central New York, again, does not cooperate with any not-for-profit in the world. So what is Saturday?
So, Randy, I'll let you take the lead on this.
What do you got planned on Saturday?
So Saturday is going to be our first annual Winter Fest, and so we're going to have a chili cook-off, open it up with a pancake breakfast, some recovery speakers speaking, and some other people in the community. The sheriff will be speaking. Just a way we bring people together, people that are in recovery, people that aren't, kind of like.
So it's a family-friendly event.
Also, we have a scavenger hunt going on. We got kid trivia. We have arts and crafts for the kids. We got a talent show going on.
So I wanted to ask about the talent show. Do you have pre-booked acts of, are these people who are members of the Nick's Ride family? Are they people from outside? This talent show seemed interesting. So what are you doing?
Well, we got a few people signed up for it, doing some skits and stuff. But there's gonna be a table the day of the event. You get up there and sign up, and whether you want to sing, dance, or whatever you want to sing, you come on down.
You do not want me to sing, but we should say, where is it?
It's at 13 Chapel, right at Nick's Ride.
So is most of it going to be outside?
It's going to be a mixture of outside and inside. We like the pancake breakfast is going to be outside. We're going to have little bonfires going on, and cocoa outside and stuff like that. But some of the events we're going to be outside, but I don't think we're going to have.
We're not having a snowman competition.
No snowman, no ice sculptures. Okay, so what time does it run from?
10 to 5. So 10 a.m. to 5 p.m.
And is
Saturday.
there a fee for it?
That's free event.
So free. But how about if you want pancakes? Do you pay for the pancakes? No. So it's all free event.
We're going to accept donations. We'll have donation jugs out there. We'll be doing 50-50 raffles and selling tickets and everything like that. But it's a free event. We did something similar for a version of this for the summer, Speaker Fest, and it's kind of like a winter version of that.
So Speaker Fest is what?
So Speaker Fest was organized last year. Randy took the lead. He's our lead with all of our fundraising events that pertain to recovery events for the community, because recovery is we're constantly, I think, drawn to the the crisis of active use and like the need to stabilize. And we encourage recovery, but the support for recovery itself is sparse once people are in recovery. And there aren't as many things as we might think for people to do in a drug and alcohol-free environment. So I think that's a big drive for why we do these events. But Speaker Fest, I believe we had close to 20 people from across the state come and share their experience, strength, and hope. You know, and it was intermittently DJ'd by John McLeod, and then Perform for Purpose came and played. Auburn Clam Bake brought a bunch of food. Laskas gave us a salad. It was a great day. It was outside. There was probably, over the course of the 6 to 7 hours it was going, I would say we had about 150 people attend.
On Saturday, will you give tours of the facility as well?
Absolutely.
So we talked about trying to figure that business model out.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the other things you're doing is you're partnering with Springside for something called Dinner to Go. What is that?
So the Dinner to Go is going to be opposite the years that we have our gala, which was our original fundraiser.
Nick's Nights Out.
Right. Yep. Nick's Night Out. It was a very formal event. And so we just thought to, keep that special. We would move it to every other year because there's a lot of preparation that goes into it, and offering something a little bit more convenient in terms of time, because we know that everybody's pressed for time in this modern world post-pandemic, and offer a Dinner to Go. And this year we're offering it through Springside. The last time we did it was through Laskas. It's always great food. Auburn has great food. And that's going to be on April 2nd, and we have to receive orders a week before.
So I went to the website yesterday, the day before. There's a form on there. Can you fill out? I didn't check. Could you fill out the form on there, or do you have to send it in?
I believe there's a QR code you can scan and do it that way.
And so you have it in front of you, but there's some choices of how much does it cost to participate?
So I think it's $65 per person, and then there are 3 different options. There's a chicken, a beef, and a vegetarian option, and they all come with a side salad, a dessert, and your choice of a side.
You need to read, but I'll read it for you. But there is, what are the 3? Because they sounded very good entrees. That's why we should have people's mouth water after dinner or just before they eat tonight.
So a chicken, which is a roasted half chicken in a root vegetable sauce, a braised short rib in a 5-spice mushroom sauce, and an eggplant parmesan battered and topped with marinara sauce and baked with provolone cheese.
Go ahead.
Dinner is served with a fresh garden salad, pasta, and seasonal fruit, and a dessert.
And so what you do is you pre-order and you drive up there, you take it home, and it's like we were back in COVID, that we all pick up things at restaurants and go from there. And again, when's the date you have to order it by?
So it's a week before. So we have to receive the orders no later than March 24th. And that's the arrangement we made with Springside, just so they have enough product for producing the meals that we're going to be handing out that day.
So I'm interested about this. There was a great profile, and I think Kevin Rivley did some great photos of you back in the fall, late summer, early fall. You are a boxer and an MMA fighter. First of all, delineate the two for us.
So MMA stands for mixed martial arts. So it's a blend of all the arts together. Like you got jiu-jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, boxing, wrestling. Where boxing just isolates just the hands, just the box.
And how long have you been doing that?
Well, I had my first professional fight when I was 32, so I'm 48 now. So I've been doing it for, a long time. I had over 48 professional fights, and I owned a couple different gyms and helped run a couple fight promotions until I, at the end of I relapsed and then ended up, losing it all, but bringing it back and a little bit different than it used to be, but.
So it sounds like you do. I'm sure you're doing fundraising, but in that particular vein, it sounds like you do 2 things with peer advocacy. One is you have a gym in the basement, and what are you doing down there?
A program I call Combat Recovery. Give your recovery a fighting chance. You don't necessarily have to be in recovery because we're all in one way or the other recovering from something, and it's just that mindset of getting through the workout and getting better. I really related a lot to my recovery. like training for a fight, like
Okay.
one day at a time. Like in fighting, we got one round at a time. You know, and sometimes we got to break that round down, like 30 seconds at a time to get through it. And that's one of the most important things I heard early on in my recovery was just like one day at a time, keeping the moment, look where you are. And the same thing goes through to the fighting aspect.
And how often do and these are people who are in recovery, and there's people who are not in recovery,
Yeah.
people coming. How often are you in the gym downstairs?
7 days a week. Monday through Friday, we're in there from 5 to 6:37. But then we're always, my son, he comes up on a weekend, and I've been training him since he had his first fight when he was 7. So he comes up, trains on the weekend with us, and
How old is he?
he's 17 now, and he just got selected for the U.S. national kickboxing team. So we're going to Germany in October. But
That's great.
he represents combat recovery. So when they introduce him to his fights, Nathaniel, Smith representing combat recovery. So it's pretty cool.
So you are both not. This is not a prerequisite that you have to have a job in Auburn, that you're from Auburn, but you're from Tully. You're originally from Cortland.
Yes.
Okay. So it also sounds like, not sounds like, when I looked at the story by Kevin Rivley, it also looks like you go to the correctional facility, the county jail on County House Road.
Yep.
And you talk to people who are there, correct?
Yeah, I help run some groups. I actually I do the groups right with them.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So I was there for a little while, 30 days and 40 days, and that's
Inside, actually, we should clarify. You were inside.
Yeah, I lived there.
You were not. You didn't have a day pass to come in to
No.
talk to people.
No.
So more important. So I get that perspective. But what do you run through with somebody? I know one of the photos has everybody's in orange except for you. What do you do in a session there with individuals who might be at the county jail?
I mean, we basically just talk, man. We just talk about the struggles of starting over. And maybe there's a lot of fear in there. People are starting over again, and just being there, being at the bottom, wearing that orange and having to start all over. We just talk about what we're feeling, and we help set goals, and we then it's my job. So being a peer advocate, being a coach is very similar, right? So as a coach, we come up with a game plan, the best game plan to win the fight, just like we do with being a peer advocate. But it's up to that person to follow that game plan. But our job as a coach or a peer advocate, if they don't follow the game plan, then we have to come up with adjustments.
So you're coming from two different perspectives: somebody who was inside, and somebody who has an addiction, which may not always be the case with some of your peer advocates. Correct?
No, all of our peer advocates have lived experience with having lived through active substance use and are now in recovery.
No, but I meant somebody who might have been incarcerated.
Sure,
Not
but there's a high number of folks that are incarcerated that, I think generally speaking, the majority of folks that are incarcerated have substance use or mental health challenges that led to their involvement with the criminal justice
So I
system.
know we were supposed to have. Go ahead.
So there's a specific pod in the jail now. That's a recovery pod.
Okay.
So everybody's in there is in recovery or attempting.
So
to get
that's who
recovery.
you're usually addressing.
I'm there every day, but I also do groups.
How large is the pod?
We have. It can be 20 people in there, but we keep 3 beds open, so we usually have about 17 people in there at a time.
And I know we were going to also have Randy Smith, who's another peer advocate. How many people are working? Excuse me, Doug. You're here.
Yeah.
Doug Porter was another peer advocate was going to be here. How many people work for Chapel House?
So
Or not Chapel House, for
It's okay.
Nick's Ride.
I make the same.
You all have to have different names. I
Yeah.
think that would be helpful that nobody's crossing over here. But
Right.
go ahead.
Well, we all work with similar populations
Right.
too, so I make that same error too, Guy. So we have Doug Porton, he's our senior peer. We have assistant senior peer Randy Smith. We have Brad Solomon. We have Brittany Hendrickson. We have Jeff Shutter, who helps with support staff and media and IT stuff. We have a CFO, Kelly Shutter, and myself.
Okay.
And we have a fleet of volunteers. And the fleet of volunteers acts as a pretty good farm to see who we might want to invest in to develop as a peer.
So
I started off as a volunteer.
You started off as volunteer. So we obviously the president addressed addiction in the State of the Union, maybe not to the extent that some people wanted, but we still are having a number of overdoses. Locally, in this area, in this community, have the numbers flattened out? Have they gotten better? Have they gotten worse in the last year or two?
So we definitely saw a pretty big jump at post-pandemic. 2021 they were continuing to soar. They went back down a little in terms of fatal overdoses last year, but we're still seeing quite a few people overdosing in Cayuga County and in Auburn. Part of one of the projects that we do is a post-overdose outreach. We get a list each week with an agreement with Auburn Police Department, and we actively try to seek out those individuals to offer them peer support services, train them on how to use Narcan or naloxone, and steer them towards support services, treatment, to help them. That's a very sad list. It's a lot of young folks. We are seeing a shift in trends from opiates. Opioids are still involved, and fentanyl is usually always involved in the fatalities. But the synthetic
fentanyl is still
fentanyl
the
is
problem.
Everything.
Okay.
And if I could share something that we could really get out there, anything that is purchased on the street is unknown product, and you're really taking a gamble today because there's fentanyl in marijuana, there's fentanyl in synthetic marijuana, there's fentanyl in this substance they're calling Molly, which is a synthetic stimulant, and they're finding that some of these synthetic stimulants have xylazine, which is a horse tranquilizer that's put into this substance, which makes it naloxone resistant.
Why would somebody use something that's resistant to that? They just don't care.
It points to domestic terrorism.
Okay.
What's the only reason you would do that?
Do you have an idea between who you're seeing at the jail, and I'm assuming you're just doing the jail, you're not doing the prison, correct?
I don't do the prison.
Okay. How many people does Nick's Ride see in a given week or a month?
So in a given month, we serve on average 95 folks a month, unduplicated. Some of those folks come in daily, some of them come in weekly, some of them come in once, and we get them into treatment. We helped support 147 people last year get into treatment. The majority of those are inpatient treatment. We provided over 500 transportations last year, and the peer service
because you have
delivery.
A van.
We have a van and we have a sedan. So we have two vehicles, but we provided 3,600 approximately services last year, peer support services.
So you have a new tenant coming in.
We do.
Look at that smile.
Yeah.
Who's coming in?
Farnham Family Services, an outfit out of Oswego, and they're an OASIS certified 822 opiate treatment program.
What is OASIS?
OASIS is the state oversight for substance use treatment in New York State.
So what services are they going to provide?
They're going to be bringing in an opiate treatment program. And opiate treatment program specializes in treating opiate use disorder. Opiates are the chemical makeup of what is heroin, morphine, OxyContin, Percocets, Vicodin, all of those things, and bringing in another formulation of medicated supportive recovery, which is called methadone. And it's, in the past, people would refer to places such as this as a methadone clinic, but an opiate treatment program is more appropriate. And they were very few and far between, and we've never had one in Cayuga County.
I'm surprised at that. So I'm assuming that is a challenge for Cayuga County residents, because how often do they need to check in with somebody like a Farnham?
So like a new patient to Farnham will be going 6 out of 7 days a week to get their methadone.
Yeah.
And there are people that are living in Cayuga County right now that are taking Medicaid transportation or private transportation out of county to a opiate treatment program in Rochester, Trumansburg, Oswego, or Syracuse.
So $200,000 is funding this. Where'd that money come from?
So I know that Farnham had a grant that they went in and partnered with Confidential Help for Alcohol and Drugs.
Chad is also partnering with you locally.
Yep, they're going to be providing the clinical services. So the CASACs, the credentialed alcohol and substance use counselors, will be partnering with Farnham, and they're providing the CASACs, the clinical and the counseling. So Farnham is not just bringing in medication, because it takes more than medication, but medication is going to help. And then with the clinicians, there's going to be the counseling. So
how many people do you think you'll see in your building in a given week or a given day?
So it's going to increase quite a bit with them going upstairs. It's going to start off, with a few more folks trickling in, and then it'll continue to go up. but they anticipate it's going to grow in a similar way that their opiate treatment program grew in Oswego because of the relative same size of populace. And so they're estimating by year 3, 250 to 300 people.
And when do you hope the operation will open up?
We believe that it will be opening up middle of March. Everything is in line.
So DEA has come in. They have
Not
to,
yet.
but they have to come in and certify
Yes.
you at some point. I want to ask, before we close out, and we're just near the end of our time.
Sure.
You also have a couple of other events. We talked about Speaker Fest, because you'll do that again this summer. Am I correct on that? And then you do Nick's Ride for Friends in the summer.
Summer, fall. We just haven't nailed down a date yet. But we'll
what
put
is
that out there when we
for
do
those
so,
who may?
So it's a motorcycle ride. The Nick's family was big into motorcycling, so that was like the first like very large and successful fundraiser. I think the first year they did it, they actually raffled off a motorcycle, and so that's kind of where the name comes from too.
So that's still to be scheduled.
That's still to be scheduled. We're actually working out a route too. There's a lot involved in doing a formalized ride as a fundraiser, like, you know, and if we're crossing county lines, different jurisdictions have to get involved.
Events are so easy to plan.
That's what people think until they're doing it, right?
Right.
Like, there's a lot involved.
I want to ask you 2 last questions, one for each of you. So we've talked a lot about Nick's Ride and what goes on at your facility on Chapel Street. What do you want to tell the public that they don't know about Nick's Ride?
So Nick's Ride is really an amazing place where purpose and passion collide together to really help solve and point at some of the biggest health crises facing our community in this time, which is poverty, homelessness, inequitable access to health care, all of those things. So I look at it as like it's a privilege to be there in a leadership role and have the team I have. They all come with heart and passion. Like this aligns with their purpose. So as a supervisor, that's ideal, you know, and it's just the synergy that happens is just it's something special. That's what I would tell people.
And for you, you know, for somebody who's struggling with addiction, or they have issues that they've got to deal with, what advice do you give them?
One day at a time. Keep it simple. You know, like I said earlier, it's not like if we get knocked down, it's whether we get back up or not. You know, and that's what attracted me to being a peer too, because I worked with a lot of peers myself that were a huge part of my recovery. You know, I want to be where I'm at today. You know, like the first time I went to Nick's Ride, I was handcuffed to the chair that's in my office today.
There's a great photo in the Citizen of the green chair.
Yeah, the green chair. Yeah, and there's some peers that work at Nick's Ride, like Doug, and other ones that like Mary, that were huge part of my recovery in the beginning. You know, Ryan, like a lot of these peers, you know, they show me the light. You know, so.
And the big picture is that Nick's Ride's there for this community. Well, thank you for coming in.
Well, thank you for having us.
It. Our guests have been the executive director, Ashley Moench of Nick's Ride, as well as peer advocate Randy Smith. And we want to thank you both. Good luck with Winterfest. If you want to go, it is this Saturday, and you can stop by at 13 Chapel Street. For those of you who don't know where Chapel Street is, it's right behind Holy Family Church, right next to the Holiday Inn, and you'll have a great time and learn a lot and have some fun on Saturday. We'll be back in a moment with the second Beyond the Front Page with Melissa Kanga-Kartner, the head of the Y Camp and YMCA Membership Marketing Director Stephanie Bales, to discuss their annual meeting that will celebrate the 100th anniversary of Camp Wyowasko. In the coming weeks, we have a number of guests planned to come in. Assembly Minority Leader Will Barkley will be here, County Legislative Chairman David Gould, Dr. Adam Effler of the Owasco Watershed Management Council, Amy Fuller, the new Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce, and Michael Miller, the new head of the Q Economic Development Agency. Father Vasil Kopelnik of St. Peter and Paul Ukrainian Church will talk to us about the Ukrainian situation both here and abroad. And we'll have film director Locke Phillips, who's doing a project here at the college, as well as college president Brian Durant, to give us an update on what's going on at the college. We'd like to let you know that you can always send us your thoughts for questions or ideas. You can send them to cozguytho@aol.com. I'm Guy Cosentino for Q Community College. We want to thank you for watching. Be safe out there. Stick around. We'll be back in just a moment with a second Beyond the Front Page.